This is Good Morning Chattanooga Weekend.
And thanks so much, everyone, for joining us for Good Morning Chattanooga Weekend. I'm Arian Walton. Today is Sunday, August 9th, 2015. Lots to get you caught up on this morning, but first, let's begin with joining Bill Race in the Storm Track 9 Weather Center with a look at your work week forecast. Bill?
All right, thank you. And Storm Cam 9, it's a quiet morning so far. Lots of sunshine out there. And the temperature right now, well, it is 75 degrees. This is Storm Cam 9 brought to you by CHI Memorial. And it looks like a very hot day today with highs in the mid-90s. It's time for the news right now.
Thanks, Bill. A big and probably huge night at Finley Stadium last night. You know, if you haven't heard, the Chattanooga Football Club fell to the New York Cosmos B with a score of 3-2 in overtime, making the Cosmos the NPSL champions.
I've been a soccer fan my whole life. It's the biggest event Chattanooga's held. I'm so excited.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's something that brings in just great pride to Chattanooga. It brings in such a wonderful fan base. People from all over Tennessee, all over other parts of the country, and it's something that's going to be wonderful for Chattanooga in the future.
Absolutely, and possibly a precursor to what's to come. Definitely a great game with a great fan base, 18,000 people.
You know, this is one of the biggest surprises, I think, as far as sports is concerned, that I've seen since I've been in Chattanooga. I mean, you have football like the Mocs, and they have their fans, but to get 18,000 for a soccer game is very impressive. So congratulations to all involved there.
Absolutely. Moving on to other news for you this morning, McMinn County Police, they're investigating a shooting that happened Saturday night. Sheriff Joe Guy tells News Channel 9 it happened around 10 o'clock at a home on County Road 788. Sheriff Guy says it appears a domestic situation turned violent. One man was airlifted to the hospital. The sheriff says there are at least 2 suspects in this case. Of course, you can depend on News Channel 9 to keep you updated on this developing story. An award now from the community for Chattanooga police officer Dennis Pettigo, given to him at a benefit concert Saturday night.
For serving with honor and selflessness without fear or hesitation, for your courage and dedication to the community and country you serve. The citizens of Chattanooga, thank you. Let's have a round of applause for this award.
Well, you know what? Here's a very serious question for you this morning. If you had to, could you really tell the difference between a fake and or a real gun? That's a big question that's come up after Wednesday's movie theater attack near Nashville. Now, among other things, that suspect was armed with an airsoft gun that looked like the real thing. Cameron Taylor shows us the difference between real and airsoft.
Sam Arabi owns Tintac Airsoft in South Knoxville. It's an airsoft field, but also a place that sells airsoft guns.
So what you're looking at is replica toys that are made to look like real guns.
Arabi tells me that's part of the sport, but after police in Nashville killed a man they thought was armed with a real gun that turned out to be one of these, it's brought up some questions. Specifically, how can you spot the difference?
And many police officers say it's really hard to spot the difference, especially in the heat of the moment. But bottom line, folks, keep in mind deputies are trained to act to any threat. Chattanooga police officers and more than 300 others raised $7,000 for their K-9 unit. That was Saturday. Officers tell News Channel 9 that each K-9 goes through several years of training. That training costs close to $10,000 per dog. That's not including all of the gear and the food the dogs need. The K-9 unit has 10 dogs, we're told. 9 of them are active. Well, today is the last day to get your tax-free shopping done in Tennessee and in Alabama. Computer purchases up to $1,500 are exempt, including tablets. Clothing is tax exempt up to $100, along with certain accessories. Now, we caught up with one woman preparing to have her kids head back to school.
You can buy stuff and get your kids taken care of without having to worry about those taxes. So it definitely helps out a lot nowadays.
I'm sure it does. Michelle Buckner says she saved about $60 in taxes. The sales tax holiday ends at 11:59 p.m. tonight. Happening tomorrow, one of the 20 presidential candidates scheduled to be in the Scenic City will be right here. Senator Ted Cruz will be in town for what his campaign calls a biscuit and gravy stop. You can meet the Republican senator and hear more about his vision for America. That event will happen at Graceworks Church on Lee Highway from 9 a.m. until 10:30. That's tomorrow morning. It's free, but if you're planning to go, Cruz's campaign wants to know. Go to the story on our website. There's a website right there, newschannel9.com. There's a link for you to RSVP, and yep, guess what? We're told they're serving biscuits and gravy. Today marks 1 year ago since the shooting death of Michael Brown by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. That confrontation between Brown and Officer Darren Wilson sparked days of violent protests. Saturday, crowds came out to celebrate Brown's life and participate in this march led by his father. It all began on a street where that shooting took place and ended at Normandy High School, where Brown graduated. Surveillance video from a car dealership shows the moment right before an unarmed teenager was shot by a police officer in Texas. Take a look. These are still photos taken from an edited surveillance footage captured Friday. In the images, you can see Taylor standing on cars and kicking windshields at the dealership in Arlington. Police say they were called to the scene after Taylor allegedly drove his Jeep right through the front window of the showroom. The Arlington police chief tells us Officer Brad Miller shot Taylor multiple times. We're told the FBI is also investigating. Miller is on administrative leave. Well, in Atlanta, participants reacted positively and not so much to the decision to disinvite Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump to Saturday's Red State gathering. Lori Gary spoke with a few of them.
I don't want my daughter in the room with Donald Trump tomorrow night, so he's not invited.
Donald Trump wasn't even at the conservative Red State gathering after getting the boot from the organization's leader. But the other candidates still couldn't shy away from questions about the billionaire's controversial comments.
You could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
Trump, referring to debate moderator Megyn Kelly, crossed the line, according to the candidates I interviewed.
That kind of language has no place in the president.
Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush wouldn't answer any questions on stage, but said Donald Trump and what he said was wrong and he really should apologize. Well, today marks 70 years since the U.S. dropped an atomic bomb on Nagasaki, Japan. Japan's prime minister spoke at a ceremony honoring the victims. He says he'll continue to push to get rid of nuclear weapons. That bombing, together with an earlier bombing in Hiroshima, led to the end of World War II in the Pacific after Japan's surrender. More than 70,000 people died in the Nagasaki attack and from radiation illness. Today's ceremony was held right where the bomb exploded back in 1945. Well, that's a look at some of your local and national headlines this morning. Now let's head over to Bill Reyes for a preview of your Storm Track 9 forecast.
We start out with Storm Cam 9 here in our preview with lots of sunshine downtown, and this is brought to you by CHI Memorial. Hot weather for the next couple of days with highs in the mid-90s. Some storms come in here for Monday afternoon.
In trending topics this morning, another presidential candidate is topping the Twitter feeds.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, more popular than Donald Trump this morning. Well, at least on Twitter. That's probably because Sanders drew his biggest crowd yet since launching his presidential campaign. 15,000 people gathered to see him at the University of Washington Saturday.
And that energized atmosphere was marked differently than Sanders' first speech of the day, where Black Lives Matter protesters confronted the senator and even shut down his event. When approached later, Sanders says it's unfortunate that happened. He did want to talk about the issues of Black lives and other topics affecting the country.
And most important, we don't bring change in this country in terms of jobs that we need, education, healthcare, income, and wealth inequalities unless all people stand together. That's what we've got to do.
And though he didn't directly address the disturbance, Sanders says he's a lifelong fighter for civil rights, and he says no president will fight harder to end racism in this country and reform our criminal justice system.
I have a feeling that we're going to have other times that says this person's now more popular and this person's, but just depending on the day.
Got a long way to go before we actually get to the polls to vote.
Absolutely.
You know what? Now would be a good time for everybody to grab a second cup of coffee because we're back in just 60 seconds. seconds. We've got more news, Bill's Storm Track 9 forecast, and we'll see what's being featured in this week's Featured Creature. Stay with us.